Hi, I'm Peter van der Graaf, founder of Choice, Every Child Desired. At Choice, we're developing female contraception in the form of reversible sterilization. This is a fundamental innovation with a wide-ranging impact. Over the past few years, investors have asked us to shorten this story more and more. Can you tell it in 5 minutes? Can you tell it in 1 minute? Can you tell it in 5 seconds? But we believe this story is important enough to also have a long version. So here it goes. We are often asked, why do you do this and why women? Why are we developing Choice? Let's start with the natural world. The life of any animal is fraught with danger. The lower in the food chain you are, the more offspring you must produce to survive as a species. Mother duck, for instance, will on average give birth to 10 to 12 ducklings. If they would all survive, Earth would be overpopulated with ducks. The reason it isn't is because, on average, only as many ducks as the previous generation managed to create the next. The rest of the ducklings are, unfortunately, mostly eaten by predators. Our ancient ancestors lived just the same. But some 2 million years ago, humans started walking upright and quickly developed large brains. Since then, our development has been rapid. Our hands, our brain have made most of what you probably now see around you. We live in 21st century culture now far more than we do in nature. But walking upright and big brains come at a cost, the most dangerous childbirth in nature. The combination of the baby's large head for its large brain needing to come out and the mother's need to walk before and after the birth is an evolutionary challenge. Women's pelvises are simply not big enough for easy delivery, while also accommodating efficient leg movement. This difficult birth has led women to assist other women delivering since prehistory. Women's lives were cut short by these repeated dangerous deliveries. A woman's life involved giving birth from a young age to large families, often dying in another delivery. Still, due to our increasing control over our environment, our survival rate began to climb. More and more children survived, aided by our uncanny ability to remove nature's unwanted side effects. We are no longer prey for predators. We live in clothing and housing that keeps us warm. We have agriculture to feed the many bellies, and we flush away our diseases with sewers and treat the sick with better medicine, including the mothers. So we do invent solutions for those parts of nature we find threatening, painful, or just plain uncomfortable. Let's go back to mother duck. Research shows that animal mothers grieve for their lost children just as we do. But we have our big brains to do something about it. This is why contraception was invented. We're not happy with what nature provides for the lack of control over if, when, and how many children we get. So, contraception has always been a cultural phenomenon, battling nature's plan with a woman's body. We have ancient Egyptian texts explaining contraceptive practices. The Romans used silphium, a plant from Libya that went extinct because of this use. We do not even know how it was used. Later times saw condoms made of silk, which is what Casanova used. Let's now get to current contraception. Margaret Sanger was a social worker for the poor in early 20th century New York. Whenever she succeeded in helping a poor family to stay afloat, her work would be destroyed by another unwanted pregnancy. In 1916, she started the first birth control clinic in the USA. She stated, "No woman can call herself free who does not own and control her body. No woman can call herself free until she can choose consciously whether she will or will not be a mother." In 1919, she had a dream about a pill that would allow women to do just that. She started Planned Parenthood and by the 30s supported the new field of hormone research, which in 1960 led to the introduction of the pill. I'd like to emphasize this as it's not generally known. The best known and most widely used contraception was initiated by a woman for other women. The 60s would have been unthinkable without the pill. giving women a freedom never before seen, which transformed society. Not very long after, the IUD was introduced, which, together with the ancient condom, are the most well-known and used contraceptives. Everywhere where contraceptives were introduced, birth rates tumbled dramatically, with women entering education, the job market, and gaining overall more control over their own lives. So, all's well then? Well, not quite. Actually, there's a lot still to be done. Out of every 100 pregnancies worldwide, 40 are deeply unwanted. Of these 40, 25 are aborted and 15 are born. These 15 have the lowest chances for love, food and education, are 3 times more clinically depressed than the wanted ones, and in the US have a 5 times higher chance to go to prison for serious crime. So, these are disrupted lives, and the disturbances in these children can be passed on for generations. These unwanted children almost always stay in the care of the mothers. Both their lives are often derailed because of this, with condemnation, social exclusion and poverty to follow. While eventually the freedom to choose offspring or not should be given to both men and women, it's clear to us that it is the women who need this freedom most to be able to choose their own path in life. They also, understandably, will not leave contraception to the responsibility of their partners before they have entered a seriously committed relationship. So, why don't we start solving the problem of unwanted conceptions instead of debating how to deal with them? What's wrong with current contraceptives, as we still have so many unwanted pregnancies? First of all, the hormones in the pill and some IUDs prove to be a mixed blessing. You just don't know where the hormones end and you begin. Numbing of the mind, weight gain, decreased libido and many other effects are reported. Women have started to move away in droves. In the Netherlands alone, 20% of women in fertile age decided to stop with hormonal contraception in the last 4 years. Many try IUDs instead, only to discover it gives them abdominal pains or excessive bleeding, convincing a third to have it removed in the first 2 months. Condoms are universally hated, no need to explain. Many turn to fertility apps, but their predictive power is so poor that there's a 25% chance of pregnancy each year. So, all in all, at the moment, it's choosing the lesser evil. By the way, these choices have not changed in almost 60 years. Second point, discipline, or rather the lack of it. People are not very disciplined creatures, which explains the big chasm between the theoretical protection of the pill, or condoms, and the practical value. It's a problem similar to brushing your teeth. Most people do that twice a day, but it's often forgotten when, for instance, they are ill and in bed, when a loved one dies, when they had a party until 5 a.m., etc., etc. We also know that in puberty, forethought and discipline often still need to be acquired. Unfortunately, there's quite a difference between dirty teeth for a day or an unwanted child for life. Third point, sexual desire is one of our most uncontrollable urges, even in this advanced civilization, as a large part of our literature and media show. Here, nature is often far more powerful than culture. It therefore hits us at the most unexpected moments. Passion is suddenly inflamed through love or lust, loneliness or alcohol or combinations of them, just when we thought we had no need for protection. Fourth, 200 million of the poorest women desire contraception but have no access to them. The best remedy, according to the WHO, are LARCs, long-acting reversible contraception, at the moment mostly IUDs, which can last up to 7 years, and implants, which last up to 4 years. They all have the side effects previously mentioned. And then there's sterilization, which is a LARC without the reversibility, so a LAC. Sterilization is actually the most widely used contraceptive. 219 million women worldwide rely on it. Although it is not generally thought of as such, as it is typically done when the family is considered complete. It's advertised as irreversible, which is not completely true for women, but true for men. Reversal, however, is neither easy nor guaranteed. So, this is the landscape of contraceptives. Enter choice, enter me. I was always interested in traveling and visiting the wild places. To my shock, I quickly discovered most wild places were little islands in a sea of human-transformed landscapes. This started me thinking about population growth. Slowly, the facts I just mentioned before started coming into focus. Clearly, we could do better in the 21st century. The first thought was that sterilization was almost ideal. It's very reliable, 99%. It's not hormonal. It has no side effects. It does not need discipline. It allows for unexpected encounters. If only we could do something about reversibility. This means we must make it possible to stop and allow conception at any given time of our own choice, hence the name. We should do this in a way that does not involve hormones or chemistry. The advantage of mechanical solutions like a prosthetic hip is that they only work locally on that hip and not in your mind or your stomach or anywhere else. So, is there a mechanical way to stop and allow conception like a door closing or opening? Or like a valve? And where to place that valve? It cannot be at the cervix, because that needs to be open, especially during periods. Maybe higher up, in the fallopian tubes, we could make a valve. This begs the question, why do fallopian tubes exist? All mammal species have them. If they were not necessary, evolution would have placed them on top of the womb by now. These tubes have a cycle and peristaltics both ways and cilia and lots of little glands. Talking to experts, the best answer is that tubes are fertility enhancers and discriminators. Fertilized eggs have a much better chance to grow into babies using the tubes than through IVF. The fertilized egg, nurtured by fallopian tube milk on its way down, divides into 8 cells without growing in size and gets all kinds of chemical and hormonal signals on its way to the womb. Eggs that don't develop well get weeded out. Because of this, I got advised by Leuven University to disturb the fallopian tubes as little as possible and put the valve close to the womb, since that's where there is the least activity. This gave us a size, since there was a failed predecessor sterilization product in the same location, Bayer's Essure, which was 1.6 millimeters in diameter. 1.6 millimeters diameter and 15 millimeters long is very small indeed. It's the size of an uncooked, long-grain rice kernel. So it needed a valve that was as open as possible and very small. By now it was pretty clear I was not going to do this all by myself. So I started working with the Technical University Eindhoven, where I was a part-time teacher at the time. Since then, more and more high-tech companies, research institutes, investors, co-workers and supporters have joined Choice. So now we can talk about we. We finally arrived at a peculiar valve we have since patented. It's the valve with the most open diameter inside a tube. All to disrupt the natural processes in the fallopian tube the least possible. We also needed a way to move the valve from closed to open and back. The original thought was to do this with wireless energy and a micromotor, so we would have to pass the cervix as little as possible. Explanation for the men here, this is very painful. This goes against our leading principle, which is first do no harm. We found a French company capable of making such an incredibly small micromotor. Remember the rice kernel? Now put a motor on the side of the rice kernel. We're working on it and it's progressing. The wireless energy transfer proved to be even more problematic. Radio energy does not travel well underwater. You can't just phone a submarine. It proved hard to bring in the energy through the belly to the tubes. Together with the Technical University Eindhoven, we're solving it, but it will take longer. I can't tell you more because all of this is still proprietary. Time for a plan B, because we wanted to get Choice to women as quickly as possible. We decided a first fully mechanical version where we would switch the valve by a thin wire, a catheter, would be acceptable as a first step. Then we learned proving new contraception was a long, arduous and expensive process, as women understandably want to know if they will be just as fertile after wearing choice closed and opening it as without it. We are a small startup and we might not make it that far. So we decided for Plan C, prove that this is minimally invasive sterilization. It does not mean we give up on our ideals, it's only that Plan C, sterilization, will be followed by Plan B, mechanical contraception, which will be followed by the original Plan A, wireless contraception. Currently, we're working on all three, with a focus on the first. Another problem, how could we make sure the implant stays in position all these years? After all, the tubes have peristaltic waves, pushing sperm in and embryos out. We found a gifted designer who had created stents, frames for inside the body, for all possible applications. For veins, for intestines, for air passages, you name it. He came up with a clever design which we have since proven to be stable in rabbits' tubes, which are even more active than human. The gynecologist in our group threw us another challenge. This will also be applied by bad doctors, you know. You have to make the insertion so foolproof even they can do it without mistakes. Our answer was the smallest camera in the world, sitting in that tiny valve so you could always see what you were doing. In all, I hope you begin to understand what a journey this is for such a small device. But remember, we try to provide an ability inside a body that never has been there before. We're going where no woman has gone before. This was never going to be easy, but oh so worthwhile. We're about halfway in this journey and progressing all the time. We've come to realize that we're going to give women different lives. No longer will there be the fear of getting pregnant. Conception will only happen when she wants to conceive. We also realize that the name contraception no longer covers it. We believe this is proconception. The intrinsic ability to choose your time to conceive is a better description. So, this is our story. I trust you enjoyed this, and if you're going to help, find us at choice.nu. It's time that every child is desired. It's time for proconception. Thank you for watching.